Welcome back. We're coming into section 4, and we're going to be developing with JavaScript today. During this section, we're going to learn about the age and year JavaScript elements. We're going to learn how to hide and show other elements by utilizing special effects with JavaScript. And then finally, we're going to get a little fun with some timers. Now in this video, we're going to be primarily focusing on the age and the year elements. We can take advantage of the JavaScript programming languages for a variety of purposes. However, for this course, we're just going to be focused on just a few options to show you the power of JavaScript. What we're going to do is we're going to set up two input fields. Now the first input field is going to be for our user's age, while the second field is going to tell us the user's birth year. So if we have an active user on our website and they insert their birth year, well, it's going to tell them how old they are, and vice versa. If the user inputs their age, it'll tell them what year they were born in. So right now we're inside of our Atom editor. Now this is our index page, and this is where we left off from section 3. Now what I want to do is I want to go ahead and have my input fields inside my introduction paragraph. And so I can easily accommodate this by setting my input tag. So we're going to do input type equals text. In other words, they can only insert texting here. Now, if we get into forms later on down the road, the input type could be email, it could be phone. You have a variety of different things. Text area, that's a whole nother ballgame. So for this purpose, we're going to do input type equals text. So that it allows them to put text into this input field. Now we want to give this a name. So let's do name equals age. What we're going to do now is we're going to set this inputs to an ID. So let's set our ID to age. And finally, we need a JavaScript functionality. So basically, if something happens on the website, then the JavaScript will kick in. So if we was to do onChange, meaning if somebody clicks inside the input field and they insert like 27, and they click tab over, or they click the mouse on the other input field, then the other input field should populate something, and something will happen with our JavaScript. So we do onChange capital Age. And the reason why you want to have the onChange capital, you want to have the JavaScript function slightly different or completely different than the ID and the name. And the reason for this is because if you have it the same, then JavaScript will not know what's the difference between the ID or the function. So make sure you keep them different, even if it's just by capitalizing the A or changing the name completely. Now I want to create one more just like this one, but I want it from my year input field. So I'll do input type text. Alrighty. So right now we have two input fields, one for our age and one for our year. So if we click save, we come over here, we refresh our page, we have our age and our year, but they're just blank boxes. So we could also do a placeholder. And what this does is it allows us to put pre-inserted text inside of the input field. So if we do age 25, and then let's come over here to our year and set the placeholder to year 1993-ish. We'll do 1993. Then we save that. Now if we refresh this page, age 25, year 1993. So what we should do is if we type in 25, tab over because of the onChange effect, or click out, well then this should populate with what year I was born in. We got to do our JavaScript. So what we're going to do is we're going to come over here, right click, new file, and I'm going to call mine functions.javascript or .js. Now inside of here, we're going to have a little bit of fun. And surprisingly, it's only going to take about 4 or 5 lines of code per function. And we've only got 2 functions, so we're good. So let's start off with our function age. So we do function age, open your curly brackets. Now the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to we're going to name 4 variables. We're going to be naming 4 variables. One of them is going to grab the value. Another one is going to grab a date. Another one's going to grab a specific element from that date. And then our last variable is going to do some math. And then we're going to have pretty much a document writing, which is going to write to our year ID with the difference between the age and the input value. So if we set our first variable to DIY0, you can set your variables to whatever you want to call them. I just do mine because it's slightly confusing and it's just me. So now I'm going to grab document.getElementById. And what this is going to do is so we're going to be referencing a document, and we're going to grab that document, this JavaScript. We're going to tell JavaScript how to reference that document by the element's ID. So if it was to grab an element ID by XID, which is actually age, so document, grab the age by the ID age. We're going to grab the value of that. You could do name, but ID is more proper. So we're going to create another variable. We can call this one W1. Let's do W0. And then our year will be 1. So now we're going to grab a new functionality. And we're going to do a date. Now this is going to say, okay, for variable W0, let's call a new date today. What is today's date? And now we're going to create our third variable, and we're going to call this one L0. Now with this one, we just want to grab the year. We don't care about the date or the day or the month. We just want that year. So if we get W0.getFullYear, that allows us to grab just that year that we need. And then lastly, let's do our math. So if we do YID0, now this is going to do, we're going to subtract our L0 minus our DIY0. So basically, whatever the year of today's date is, whatever that year is, we're going to subtract it from the value of this. But we've got to display that somewhere. So let's grab another document. So we're going to do document.getElementById. And what we're going to do is we're going to set this ID to year. That way, whenever they input their age, then we want the math to populate in the year section. And then we're going to do value equals YID0. Because this is the variable we actually want the math. We want the information from this math. So let's reference this. Now we've got to do the function for the year. So we create function year, opening curlies. We're going to do the exact same thing. The only difference is on our zeros, we're going to add a 1. And we're going to swap the age and the year around. So if we go ahead and set this up, our DIY. There we go. So now we have created the exact same functions for our year as we did for our age. So we save this, we come back over here and we refresh our website, then we should insert 25. Nothing is happening. Why not? Now we're missing a step. Can you figure it out? For you programmers out there, you know what my mistake is. For the new guys, not a problem. In my top head bar, where I linked my CSS, I need to link my JavaScript. So I'm going to do the script source equals functions.js, because that's what we called it. We called it function.js. And then we can close that off and then close off the script. Now if we save this and then refresh, now we should get that perfect deal. So if I'm 25 years old, I was born in 92. But if I was born in 1990, see how it went up? Now if I was born in 1410, that would put me at 607 years old. Good God Almighty. Believe in vampires yet? Now, We have learned how to do age and year functions using JavaScript and input methods.